morning, everyone, and welcome to the Real Scottish Politics Live with The National. I'm Steph Braun, and my colleague Abby Garton-Crosby from our famous London trip is with me. Is it now famous? Does everyone know about it?
I don't know, but you can read all about it in my diary piece that I wrote of the chaos that me and you went through for 4 days. But what a lovely trip that turned out to be.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I'm just glad that we're not there this week because I think it's hotter than the Sahara or something. So
I 40 degrees in London and basically the entirety of England. It's crazy that we are getting off light with it when we're getting like 27, 28 degrees in Scotland. I think I was saying to someone, we were talking about this last week and I was like, I don't ever remember it being like above 20 degrees when I was a kid, which I know sounds crazy and I'm probably sure it was, but
No,
I don't remember it ever being like this.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at my phone this morning going, 26, for God's sake, why isn't it? And then we are thinking, why isn't it hotter? And I'm thinking, when do we ever get 26? You need to, but it's because everybody else has been going on about 32, 33 and the rest of it. It seems like we're not getting the bulk of it, but I think it's probably a good thing, actually. We're probably a good temperature.
I know. I've seen like videos of people in England putting like kitchen foil up on their windows and stuff to stop the heat, like spraying it on with like soapy water. I don't know how effective that is. That's on TikTok, so it could be complete misinformation. But like I have seen loads of videos of people doing that, loads of warnings, for people in England about keeping their pets cool and how to beat the heat and stuff like that. And it is quite scary because if you read some newspapers, you would think it's a jolly heat wave when it's kind of a product of climate change and the temperatures are going up. But I think there was a clip going around from GB News this morning where they were trying to get a meteorologist to speak positively about the heat wave, and he was like, "I'm not going to do it because people are going to die." It's not a positive story. There are people going to die from this, so I think that is going to be the big story of the next couple of days. Obviously, everybody loves to talk about the weather when it's hot, but it was Boris Johnson, who's still caretaker prime minister, heavy quotation marks around that, has been basically, I think he'd skipped a Cobra meeting earlier this week about, the resilience response to this. So I don't know how he's being a caretaker if he's not doing the bare minimum that he needs to be in the job. I actually saw a video of him that I just posted in our work chat of him in a fighter jet fueling up another plane or something. So he's obviously having a great time having the last of his month as prime minister. So that's good for him, I guess. Not so good for the taxpayers' money he's having a jolly off the back of, but just thought I'd throw that in there because it annoyed me when I saw that sort of.
It's a familiar sort of sense of denial from Boris Johnson, I think, because didn't he miss Cobra meetings right at the start of COVID and skip them?
Yeah.
And it's I think there's and Dominic Raab the other day was just saying on TV, go out and enjoy the sunshine. And, we haven't seen these I think Scotland has seen 26 degrees before, but not very often. And certainly England has not seen things that my family live in Cheshire and they're getting 36 degrees today. That's just, you can't really work in that because, people all across the world work in these temperatures, but we don't have them. So we're not used to it.
Also, we don't have aircon, Yeah.
We're not built for that type of heat.
So,
yeah, which it's going to be pretty worrying.
Yeah, it's worrying. That's what I mean. We don't have the infrastructure to cope in these high temperatures because we're generally been a colder country for so long. Like, as there not stuff about the trains are going to have to go at a slower speed because it's so warm and things like that. And it's like you think on the flip side of thinking back to the Beast from the East when everything shut down because it snowed. Like, we're having more, extreme weather events that are shutting down the country and nothing's really been done to make sure that the infrastructure's there that we don't. I think Scotland's getting a little bit lucky that we're not getting as high temperatures as everybody else, but still, I'm sweating sitting here in my living room.
I was sweaty when I got into the office. So, I mean, there's been information on our website about kind of some of as part of the article on how hot London's going to be, there's some information in there about how this is going to affect the trains. There's a few trains around Glasgow and the trains between Glasgow and Edinburgh as well that are going to be going slower because of the heat. So you probably just leave a bit more time for your journeys than you would normally do. Should we have a look at our front page?
Let's maybe stop talking about the weather.
So on the front page today is Indy is not a settled issue. That's from Christina McKelvey, the SNP MSP, in response to Penny Mordaunt, who is one of the Tory leadership candidates, saying that Penny Mordaunt said that she would not allow a second independence referendum under any circumstances. In a sort of quick fire round of questions at the end of her Sunday morning interview on the BBC. To me, it seemed like a bit of a panic answer. Did you see the clip, Abby? What did you make of it?
I did watch it very quickly, but I'm also not surprised at all that they're kind of just firing out these answers. You've got to remember they're playing to the membership here. They're not playing to the Scottish people. They don't really care what we think about it. They're doing this because they know that there's a tiny cohort of like Scottish Tory members in Scotland that don't want a referendum, and if they say anything other than that, they're not going to vote for them. And Penny Mordaunt is one of the favourites among Scottish Tories as well, so she's just obviously going to say that. And particularly, I don't know how many people watch the Channel 4 debate on Friday on their Friday night off like me, but there was like a bit of moment as a slightly unrelated to independence which didn't come up during that debate, but there was a kind of clash over self-ID and whether or not Penny Mordaunt supported it. She was kind of backed into a corner about it between Kemi and Liz Truss, Kemi Badenoch and Liz Truss in the end. And I don't know, I just wonder if this is her trying to, steer the conversation as far away from that as possibly that she can, because she's been getting hammered for that over the weekend from the very few bits of news that I've seen, because I tend to not when I'm off look at it. But I did see that, and I did find it very interesting. Interesting and not surprising, to be honest. It's the same as Rishi Sunak. Last week we reported that he told the Express in 2017 that if Brexit, he wanted to do F2 after Brexit because, showed the good deal that we've got, which just obviously turned out to not be a good deal. And then he U-turned on that. But that's again because they're playing to the Tory leadership. They're not running to win a general election. They don't care about the majority of voters, just that very small Tory percentage. So expect a lot more of this between now and September.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the other person that's it's not independence referendum related, but Kemi Badenoch as well. She's one of the other candidates. She's come out and said that the SNP blame England for injustices and hide behind populism to disguise poor record in government, she claims. Alison Thulis, in her usual sarcastic kind of way, has hit back at that, just calling it ridiculous Trumpian logic in the face of the nationalists continually winning elections. We're getting used to this kind of commentary coming out, I suppose. But that one's on our website if you want to take a look at what Kemi Badenoch said. Is there another leadership debate coming up tonight, or is it tomorrow?
Well, I think. Hold on. I'm not sure actually.
There is another one, and I can't remember whether it's today or tomorrow.
Let me just quickly check our website. But yeah, on that leadership debate, I think Stephen Swinford from the Times, because the next one to come is Sky News. 8 p.m. Tuesday tomorrow. So it's tomorrow, Tuesday night. So obviously Stephen Swinford, he's the editor at the Times, or one of the people at Times on his editor. He tweeted this morning that there's reports that Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss are unlikely to do that leadership debate. So apparently it's apparently because the debates so far have not been good for the Tory party. I wonder how watching Tories taking lamps at each other over tax and better arguing about self-ID and trans people has had a terrible impact on the view of the Conservatives. I wonder how that's happened. So that's quite interesting if they pull out of that, because obviously they're the cabinet ministers. They had a tough time during the Channel 4 one. I didn't watch the other one, but I knew on the Channel 4 one when they were asked, is Boris Johnson honest? That basically they all were kind of like, Kemi Badenoch said sometimes, 3 of them dodged it, and then eventually Tom Tugendhat said no and got an applause for the audience for being the only one with a backbone to actually say no, he's an honest man. It's
really worrying, isn't it, that they've, Boris Johnson is now a caretaker prime minister in big quotation marks, like you say, and they still can't bring themselves to, talk freely about how dishonest he is.
Hi, Milo.
We're getting Milo on the live stream.
My cat's really not a fan of Rishi Sunak, and he just wanted to get that across. Not a fan of his tax policies. But yeah, that was another one. Rishi Sunak was really struggling to like. I really found on Friday that he was totally trying to come across like, I'm so honest, and that's why I quit, because I wanted to give you the right economic future. But he didn't quit right up until the last minute. So, they've all tried this, and none of them have got credibility in that area. And I think it's absolutely showing the more that we go through this that, they're trying to claim honesty and integrity, but they served under Boris Johnson, and those two words are the absolute opposite of what that administration was doing during its time in office. So, yeah, I think we've got a long summer ahead of us, essentially.
Absolutely. And you were going to quickly talk about, Abby, the story around the Dumfries and Galloway Council administration. I wrote a story on this yesterday. The Labour are coming under fire for calling this the SNP Labour-led administration in Dumfries and Galloway a interim scenario, and they're getting attacked for that now because it would appear that the Labour are consistently seem to be working with the Tories or helping the Tories or propping them up in some way. You know a bit more about this, Abby, though.
I do. Story. Yeah. I am from Dumfries and Galloway, which does
yes,
help.
You are.
Essentially, this all came from my argument with Anna Sarwar during our London trip when I brought up the council leadership. There's a lot of councils where Labour have abstained from voting, which meant Tories could take power, or Tories have lent Labour their votes to take over. Edinburgh's a perfect example of that. And during that London trip, I wanted to get Keir Starmer's view on this, but that never happened because Anna Sarwar kept butting in. And then we got to Dumfries and Galloway because I was getting annoyed at him because he kept calling it an interim agreement. And I don't know how you could say that because it was voted in at the first full council. There is an SNP and a Labour co-leader in that council. Now, since then, it turns out that Anna Sarwar is now trying to essentially unpick this Labour deal, even though it's been sent through and the SNP and Labour are in cooperation. He's basically trying to roll back on it because I think what's happened is, so Jackie Baillie and the NEC have signed off on all these deals across all the councils, including the Tory ones. And Anna Sarwar, it seems, has not looked at the actual details of this until it's been signed and sealed and realised he doesn't want to do it now, which essentially means that he could pull apart this SNP, the only SNP and Labour cooperation of any form. It's not legally binding or like a cooperation deal like the Greens and the SNP have at national government. But if they do that, the Tories could get in and take over Dumfries and Galloway Council. So I honestly don't understand why he's doing that. It makes absolutely no sense that that Labour have decided to align themselves with the Tories instead of any progressive party, even on local areas where Dumfries and Galloway. That's been an SNP Labour deal with the previous 5 term, and it was usually always Labour when I was growing up. The Tories have never really got in there, so he's risking giving that over to the Tories, basically because he's not checked the paperwork properly and let it get as far as it has. So we'll keep an eye on this one. I'm going to go and try and speak to some people on it. But yeah, and the story that's happened today is Emma Harper, the South Scotland MSP, has written to him basically to play and don't do it. It's going to have serious implications for the people down there, and it really will. And it would just be out of pettiness because Anna Sarwar doesn't want to have any sort of links to the SNP that the Tories can push at them at the general election. That's literally it. That's the only reason that they're doing it, because they don't want any sort of fallback on, you've worked with the SNP, so you're not really unionists or whatever the hell they're worried about. That's what they're worried about.
Yeah, they do seem really fearful. And, Emma Harper was saying it doesn't really make any sense because, they have a cooperation agreement with Plaid Cymru, for example, in Wales. So why it is quite obvious that they are scared of the SNP to a degree. So
but when it comes to local issues, those big, in my opinion, those big national issues should not come into it. It should be up to the local groups, and Anna Sarwar should essentially keep it. It's nothing to do.
Totally
I know he's the Labour leader.
He's quite attached to these things in comparison to other leaders. I mean, I know some parties don't really get, they let their local government peeps do what they do, and they don't try and have any bearing on their decisions. But Anna Sarwar seems quite controlling in that respect.
Yeah, it's quite strange because, as I've said, I mean, I'd have to look up the figures, but I don't remember the Dumfries and Galloway Council ever being Tory. And if it goes Tory, it'll be because of a Labour leader. How crazy would that be? You know, like it's just bizarre. Anyway, so we'll keep an eye on that one and see what's going on. Obviously, as I'm a Dumfries girl, I will be all over that because I'm nosy and I need to know what's going on. Yeah, I think that's most of the stuff we have going on today. Is it? Yeah. So we'll obviously keep up to date with what's going on with the Tory leadership contest, but not in too great detail because we don't care that much, do we? So, and we'll see what else is going on, and everything will be on the national.scot later today. Thanks.
Bye.